of
he
the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I was about
You
to
don't
say
have
that.
the cards right now. With us, you start having
Not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what you're
You're
speaking
gambling
about?
with
What are you
World
speaking
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful.
That was the infamous clip of Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky in the White House, where Zelensky's having his little meltdown and President Trump and J.D. Vance are putting him in his place. And one thing that President Trump said to Zelensky was, "You don't have any more cards left to play," which is 100% true. He doesn't. But here's the thing. The United States, the EU, the West generally, we don't have very many cards left to play either. And in fact, I think we're all out. I think we're finished. And we've done everything. Right now, the EU has just approved their 17th, you heard that right, their 17th sanctions package on Russia. So if the first 16 didn't work, what makes you think number 17 will? And of course, it will not. We've given weapons. They said for a time that when we gave our tanks, that would be a game changer. It wasn't. Then it was the HIMARS. That was a new game changer. They weren't. F-16s, not a game changer. And now they're talking about these Taurus missiles that Germany wants to give to Ukraine. And will they be a game changer? Of course not. Russia has very good air defense, electronic warfare, and they have adapted to other missiles in the past, and they will adapt to these as well. Could a couple get through? Of course, nothing is perfect, but this will not be a game changer. So what can the West do? Not a whole lot, which is why I get annoyed when people say, you hear this a lot, Trump needs to be tough with Putin. He needs to get tough. What exactly does that mean? How does Trump get tough with Putin? What can he possibly do? As I just explained, not a whole lot. And in fact, the only thing that we could do to get tough with Putin is to get into a direct confrontation with Russia, which of course would lead to World War III, and then we're all dead. And is it worth that just to prevent Putin from taking a small part of southeast Ukraine? Is that worth nuclear annihilation? In my opinion, no, but there are some maniacs out there who actually think that a direct confrontation is a good idea, and they should not be listened to. They are not serious people, but unfortunately, many of them populate the U.S. government. And as of now, though, Trump has been smart as far as not listening to the more extreme elements within the U.S. government. So be tough with Putin? No. There's nothing to be done there. So this whole war, what's so annoying about it is that this is a lose-lose for Trump. There's nothing he really can do. And Democrats know that. The media knows that. The EU knows that. So when Russia wins, and it's when, not if, Trump will get the blame. If he pulls out now, he gets the blame. If he doesn't, and Russia wins in a year, they'll just say, well, if Trump had done more earlier, things would have been different. Of course, that's not true. It's just propaganda. So at this point, Trump needs to be smart and plan for the midterms, because everything's political. The longer this conflict goes on, the worse it gets for him. So the only thing that Trump really has control over is how this conflict comes to an end. to give you an analogy, it's like a plane that's going to crash. You can either aim for the cornfield and hope to walk away, or you can plunge right into the side of the mountain. Both options stink, but one sucks a little bit less, and that's the option that Trump needs to take. And what is that option? Well, that option is pulling out now, washing your hands of this, letting things, fall as they may. That way you have at least, a year and a half before the midterms. So you have a year and a half to recover from this loss in Ukraine, and it will minimize the damage that, that is done to the administration and Republicans. So Trump needs to shit or get off the pot. And the more he just goes back and forth and is indecisive, all that does is arm his enemies. And again, it's so annoying. Macron in France, Starmer in England, Merz in Germany. These people are incredibly unimpressive. And they're playing Trump for a sucker. They're trying to pull him in, right? To get the United States to back up their nonsense. And when it all blows up in their face, they'll turn on Trump and blame him and stab him in the back. So Trump, do not let these guys, the Three Stooges in Europe, make a fool of you, because that is exactly what they are trying to do. And we know Starmer was actually campaigning against Trump. He was campaigning for Kamala. Merz, BlackRock Merz. Now he's even more fanatical than Olaf Scholz. And Macron, he was recently slapped by his wife. He's a clown. He's not a serious person, although he thinks he is, which is the problem. He thinks he's going to lead the EU and be the tough guy against Russia. And all they do is talk big. They have their sanctions package, and then nothing gets done. And you look at Putin, you look at Xi Jinping in China, two politicians that have been running their countries for a long time. These are serious people. And what do we have in the West? Again, we have Merz and Macron, and we have Starmer in England. Not very impressive. So the best thing Trump can do is get away from this as quickly as possible. I said this months ago, and as I pointed out in other videos, this war, these wars with great powers, they never truly end. They just go on and on and on. Proxy wars, things cool off for a while, and then they heat back up. So there's not a lot Trump can do except control the amount of political damage it does to his administration. And the Democrats know that, and that's why they are trying to keep him hanging in there as long as they can, because that's just more dirt he gets on himself. So Trump, for the second time, shit or get off the pot. That's it for now. If you're new to my channel, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.